You can be the leader of your own life. Everyone should lead their own life. You should be the leader of your family. And so I think everyone can be a leader, but there are different types and different styles of leadership. And I believe that leadership is a skill. It starts with having something that you're committed to that's larger than yourself, a vision that's bigger than yourself. If there's a large enough vision, if you have enough passion for that vision, then you're gonna have enough drive to actually start to execute. And then leadership is the capacity to discipline your disappointment, because you're gonna have to go through failures, and instead of making failures, you have to learn from those. And then it comes down to the skill of influence once again. And so anyone can learn, anyone can develop a vision, anyone can uncover their passion, anyone can learn to influence. That's a skill that can be learned. So yes, leadership can be taught and leadership can be learned. Can everyone be a leader? The answer is yes, because there's so many different things to lead in. And it's not a situation like you have to follow me for you to lead. I just have to know what it is I truly stand for. I always say there are two things that influence everyone. If you want to be a leader, you have to know how to change other people's states. A person is in a no state, a person's in an angry state, a person's in a frustrated state. You have to be able to influence their state, because if you change their state, you're going to change the result they get. But the second thing you have to understand is, what are people's blueprints? Blueprints, my shorthand for what are their values? What do they believe? What do they fear? I always say to people that life is found in the dance between what you desire most and what you fear most. If I want to lead you and support you, I got to know your goals, your desires. I got to know what you're scared about, what you're fearful about, what stresses you out. And if I understand that, I can communicate in a way that'll inspire you to maximize, not only when I'm here, that's management. Leadership is I'm gone and you've raised your own standard and you're going to continue to perform at a higher level. People are not one way. We are a reflection of the states we're living in. When you're in a frustrated state, an overwhelmed state, a tired state, your brain processes completely differently than if you're in a passionate state, whether you're feeling determined, whether you're feeling committed, whether you feel completely resolved. So learning to change the leader's state, learning how to change your own state. Because, people, one of the silliest questions I get asked is, you're not really that happy, are you? You have bad days, don't you? Of course I have, bad times, but I don't have bad days anymore. And it's not BS. It's because I've trained myself like an athlete to go in these peak states so often that they're just natural for me. It's like building a muscle. So it's not like I'm so smart or I'm just so positive. It's just like, why would I waste my time stressing out? I have a 90-second rule. I'll stress for 90 seconds, but stress is not going to solve it. Let me put myself back in a different state. I've been teaching for years that a radical change in your body instantly changes your biochemistry. 38 years I've taught it. 2 years ago at Harvard, they did a study, scientifically proven what I've been teaching all these decades, where they call it power postures.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman stance.
Yeah, standing like Wonder Woman or Superman for 2 minutes.
Yep.
Or like you see a guy who's like this, pulled back like that for 2 minutes. Literally increases your testosterone in your biochemistry within 2 minutes by 20%. It drops cortisol by 18%, which is the stress hormone, and increases your chance of taking a more risky behavior, which is what's required of a leader, by 33%, 2 minutes. Cool. Now that's just standing a certain way. I show people to use their voice, their body, their movement, which is 10 times more dynamic than just a stiff stance. And when you change your state, your mental, emotional state, you change your performance. There are people that are born and upbred, you may be born with more certainty, like people are willing to take more risks. There certainly are people of that nature. But anyone can be a leader in something that they decide to become masterful in. 5-MeO, and like, tell me about it. And they go, the God molecule and all stuff, like what are the side effects? No side effects, nothing has no side effects. Don't give me this bullshit, right? And so finally I was there, I spent the day reading everything I could about it. And I finally said, you know what? The ayahuasca was a great experience, but I still didn't feel like it transformed my death experience for me. And so I did it. And so they told me in advance, they go, you're so big, you're 6'7", 280. We need like 4 or 5 guys to hold you down. We're going to tie you down. You're going to tie me down with it. Because we don't want you scratching your eyes. You could get crazy in this. I said, how long does this last? They go, 10, 12 minutes. So they give me this stuff and nothing happens. And they gave me a ton because I'm big, right? They gave me a ton. It's like, they told me that should be enough to take out an elephant. I'm like, well, fuck, I don't feel anything. This is bullshit, right?
Nothing happened?
Nothing. So the next day, they said, we're going to try it again. And I guess they really loaded me up. And I went out, but I had at that point, I had some problems in my throat and I was having sleep apnea. And so as I went out, I couldn't breathe, and I was screaming, I can't breathe. I felt like I was dying, and I kept rolling, and they couldn't control me. I was running all over the place. They tied me down. I ripped out of the tied areas. It was crazy. And this 10 minutes was 2 fucking hours, because the amount they gave me.
What the fuck?
But here, the first hour was hell. And if you'd see me, you'd think it was insane. And, you know, I guess my eyes were open, but I couldn't see anybody or see anything. And then the last hour was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, which is what Tony Bossis had kind of alluded to before. It's like I felt the direct connection to all that is. I felt the direct connection to spirit, to soul, to my own soul. I had this conversation with myself that I'll never forget, from my higher self to me. I felt the presence of God. My wife was with me, and I looked at her and felt like if I died, she was the greatest gift that ever happened to me. I already felt that, but it was even deeper. I felt so much gratitude. I mean, I came out of the experience with a transformation like you did. Only difference is, for the next 10 days, because I guess the amount they gave me, I woke up every morning and had this euphoric experience. But euphoric, but I was like making sounds, like yelling sounds to get the vibration out of my body. And it would go on for like 30 minutes of like ecstatic feelings, but so ecstatic. You know, if you smile so much, your face hurts. It was like, this shit needs to stop. And then like I'd done this down there, and I'd come up from Brazil, and normally like every 3 or 4 days I'm at a seminar. So I had this one 10-day period, and the 10 days were up, and I had to get on stage in Vegas in a crowd of 12,000 people. And I'm having this experience right in the morning before it starts. I'm like, holy shit. And my brain just overrode it. And I got on stage and I delivered, and I never had that experience again. But literally I had 10 days in a row of this euphoric experience, and my whole nervous system getting rewired. And so I have no fear of death. Now, I'm gonna say fear of death. I don't want to die, but I have no fear of death. And more importantly, now I can really help people in that environment. It's transformed me in that area, because you can't get someone to feel what you don't feel. You can't touch other people if you've not been touched. You can't move other people if you've not been moved. And so I had a direct experience, because I read all about this shit, but then, I didn't want to be a part of it, because, my background, everybody around me was abusing drugs and alcohol, and they were abusive. So I never wanted to touch this shit. But in this case, it's like I always tell people, a belief is a poor substitute for an experience. You can believe all you want what something is. And one other person, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, I really want to acknowledge him. I love him. He's a beautiful man, from CNN, medical doctor and neurosurgeon. And he was about as straight-laced about this shit as I am, and like on marijuana even. He thought it was horrible. And, he started doing the studies and research, and he started telling me about the research about like kids that, as you're having, brain aneurysms and things of that nature, or brain seizures rather, and what an unbelievable gift it was. And now, as I'm sure you've seen, he's a supporter of it and so forth. So the world's changing, and I think we reacted to the abuse of things. But what I liked about these experiences is I could do it one time and have my life be altered. I don't have to do it. It's not something I got to go do daily to bring myself back to that state. I have access to those states within me because I locked them in, and they're valuable, and they give me great gifts. So the toad has blessed us both, my friend.
Oh, big time, big time.